All right, everyone. I don't see anyone else in the waiting room right now. This is Mr. Cheatham, the Family Support Specialist. I'm about to hand it over to Mr. Alexander, the principal of Indian Spring. There's a little bit of housekeeping I want to do first. As I mentioned before in our post on Facebook, I am recording this presentation so that way others can watch it at a later time. If you want to edit your name just so you don't want that showing, feel free to do that. Same with your camera. In addition to that, if you have any questions, we're going to have a Q&A right after the vision and mission statements. So we'll do the Q&A after that. If you'll type your questions in the chat box, we'll try to address it at that time. Finally, at the very end, we're going to do the Title I information. If for anybody who's done that before, it can be a little bit dry. Feel free to leave after or like during the Q&A, but I'm going to be presenting that at the end for anyone who's interested in the details of parent involvement and what that means in terms of like federal standards and things of that nature. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Alexander. Let me see. Are you good? Now,
Yeah,
do you
I'm
want
good.
me to stop sharing my screen, or do you need to?
No, you're fine. You're fine. You can
Okay.
show the screen. That's fine. I think everybody can see the agenda.
Okay.
Again, I'm Joseph Alexander, the proud principal of Indian Springs Middle School. A little bit about me. I've been there. This is my third year at the helm. Excited for this new year. Excited to be able to see the kids. It's been a long time since we was able to see the kids, see them face to face. It was a different year during this unprecedented time to ensure safety and security for the children and a safe place for them to learn. First of all, let's start off with any questions that y'all may have before we get started of me. Any concerns that y'all have, any questions y'all may have that you want me to field?
Hey, Mr. Alexander, can I interrupt really quick?
Sure.
Some people post in the chat box that they can't hear.
Oh, okay.
Jennifer and Amanda posted that.
They can't hear. Let me see.
Can you hear now?
Mine is up. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Amanda said she can. Okay. I'm gonna message Jennifer.
And Ms. Vera Cruz, Catherine is a Zoom user. Maria.
So I think we're good there. One thing I forgot to say for everyone, and I'm going to even do this myself, is at this time, if you could please type in the text box your name, and if you have a student here, type the student name. And so I'm going to post in there, like I just wrote, Travis Cheatham - no students. That's going to be our sign-in process for this meeting. So that way we can have all of those records that we're required to have. So if everybody will again, at this time, type in your name in the chat box, that's how we're going to track this. Mr. Alexander, I think you can resume where you were, because it sounds like everyone can hear with where you were.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's talk about COVID-19 as we was reopening for this year. We had a committee. We started at the district level, and I had the privilege to be at the district level, talk about reopening. We planned for months to get ready for this year regarding supplies, materials, resources, the CARE Act plans, and the supplies that was ordered for each campuses. We was able to get disinfected sprays and sprayers for the custodians to go in behind each other, behind each of the children before lunch, after lunch, specifically after lunch. So a lot of different things that we have in place, wipes and everything that we need to make sure that we keep a clean and healthy campus. We have a no visitor policy in place. That's part of our COVID-19 plan of reopening to keep a secure lockdown facility. One of the things when we do go back to opening campus, hopefully in the spring, you'll see that another part of that too was the transformation of the front office downstairs. We actually have a vestibule, which is an office area now. So when parents come in, there's a self-contained area in there. So no longer will parents be able to just walk through the school without them being buzzed in. So now we have a secure area for the families to be able to be inside the school. So that's one of the areas we have really looked at how we arrive, how we scan kids in the morning, what dismissal looks like, keeping social distancing between transitioning, having the bathrooms locked during transition, so we can make sure that those facilities are being cleaned and being disinfected, even within the locker rooms. The cafeteria, we have special seating for children. Everything is in the morning, they grab and go and get their food and they go directly to class. And that's been going really well. Right now, we're approximately running around 225 is the population that we have right now. That's about half the kids. So we're running about 48% face-to-face, and about another 51% of the kids are sitting at home doing remote instruction. Mr. Travis will go into that in a little bit. Next week, we'll go into the opportunity of parents choosing the instructional setting for the second 6 weeks to see what that's going to look like, because the parents do have the option to bring their kids back to school on when school opens back up on the second 6 week, which is the October 12th, was when kids are open, come back to school face to face on the second 6 weeks. So the parents will have that information already sent on the newsletter. So hopefully all has received the parent newsletter. We communicate a lot by the newsletter that we send out, correspondence weekly, Facebook. We use Remind. We're about to switch to Parent Square the next few weeks. We'll get that information out to you as soon as we get current and updated on that subscription. We do a lot with Twitter. We'll do, hopefully y'all been getting the parent letters that I've been sending out digital on Facebook. I try to do those every month for parent communication and family engagement to let you know what's going on and activities, what's going on at the campus level. So let me pump my brakes for a minute. Are there any questions about COVID-19 or anything about reopening or any concerns that you have right now? Okay, anything in the chat, Travis? Okay, now mandatory masks is something that going on to the next.
Sorry, I was muted, Mr. Alexander.
Oh, it's okay. Is there anything in the chat room?
The only question I see right now is about a drop-off question. Mm-hmm. Do you want to go ahead and address that, or wait until?
Yeah. What's the question?
So it just says, I have questions regarding drop-off. Is the 8:30 time a permanent thing? Just asking how that would work, since most parents have to be at work at 8. Yes,
right now it's a permanent. We start school at 8:30. So that's why we allow the kids to come on at 8:15, because we know we do have families that do have to get work. But with the new counter push, we had to change the whole district had to change different times. So secondary is all 8:30 to 4:15. So that kind of structured our bail. We had a little bit more flexibility in the previous years, but not this year. Even with our official attendance time as well, that was all kind of set at that time. So we do, as we're also, or Mr. Cheatham talk about probably later too, is that we are getting ready for activity times after school. So we're working on that too. So hopefully that did answer your questions as much as I possibly could.
There's one more that popped up, but do you want to hold off until after vision? Okay.
Okay.
The parent wants to be able to ask a question directly.
Okay. The mandatory mask is social distancing. That's something that the entire campus wears every single day. It's tough for the teachers, it's tough for the kids. It's a little bit more sterile than what I'm used to seeing kids doing and interacting, but we have to be able to ensure their safety and our safety as well. One of the other things too that we emphasized this year, we have a new learning management system that all the kids are using called Canvas, is that they're utilizing from the remote instruction, also face-to-face, so that hopefully parents will be able to get on there. We have on the newsletter, it shows you the new technology times that if you need help with any of those devices, with the iPads. We have technology times that you can, in the evening time, we have it set up every day, except for Fridays, Monday through Thursday, I believe from 4 to 8, and also on Saturday, 9 to 12. That also the district has it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. if there's any technical questions or concerns that you may have. Next thing I wanted to talk about was one of the things that we're excited about coming into this school year is a program called PBIS Rewards. And what that is a positive behavior intervention system that we use with our RTI, which we're looking at response to intervention, looking at academics and behavior for instructional support for kids. This is a reward program where we basically are catching kids doing the right thing. So you're trying to reward kids, reward that positive behavior that kids are doing, making good choices, and also providing interventions when those behaviors are not as appropriate. So we're trying to correct those as often as frequently that we possibly can and try to reward good behavior, try to reward kids when they're doing the right thing and rewarding them positive to having conversations, talking to them, and encouraging those good behaviors. They're doing really great right now with the one-on-one. They're bringing their devices. I'm excited to see that they're taking good care of them. Some of them are even having their chargers. So we're excited about going into the second 6 weeks and looking at those devices and see what else we can do for parents and families in our community. Social emotional learning is something that we really emphasize this year. Our counselors and our behavior team is really working hard on a program that we have a campaign that we're working on called No Place for Hate that we're going to be rolling out. You'll hear more information going into the next few weeks into that program. But the counselors are working on that, and also with No Bullying campaign that we're working on for the children in that regard. Attendance is still basically still the same, still 90% attendance rule is still in compliance to receive credit. That's every day, each and every day, our teachers take attendance every class period. So be mindful of the attendance. If your child is absent, they have up to 3 days to return with a note. So please make sure they have if they go to the doctor, please make sure that we have that doctor note returned back as soon as possible. Grading policy is in effect. They have to have the 6 weeks, this 6 weeks that's coming in right now is the first 6 weeks. So we had the progress report. So we'll be working on progress reports next Friday, and they will be going out that following Monday. So you'll be hearing more information about progress reports as we getting grades entered. Hopefully all the parents have access to Teams within Frontline, which is the parent portal, so you can see what their attendance is and also what their grades are up to date. So that's something that's good to have because they have to have a minimum of 12 as for the 6 weeks, they have to have a minimum of 12 grades and minimum of 3 major grades. So that's something that you can continue to keep working with your children. Travis, can you transfer over to the, I think I already talked about one-to-one, about remote and in person. So
I think so. Can you actually go ahead and cover the vision and mission statement?
Yeah, let me get,
and then I'll close up with the athletic schedules and the website.
Give me a second. I think I left my notes at home. Let's see. You go ahead and talk.
Okay.
Give me a second. Let me find
We'll do.
Mine.
Okay. So if you go to our regular Indian Spring webpage, and can everyone see? It should be the Indian Spring webpage. Could you please post in the chat box if you can see that? So when you go to the Indian Spring webpage, the easiest way to get the athletic schedules is scroll down to our upcoming events, and you can click View Calendar. And then when you click on that, you can see all the school events that are shared with parents. So you can see tomorrow, there's a volleyball match against South Belton. Next week, there's a volleyball match. If you click on it for more details, it says it's at ISMS versus Lamar. And so you can see those details there. The other thing you can do is from our homepage, you can see over here, if you see the weekly newsletter and click on it, you can open up the most recent newsletter. And so you can see this is the one that I just sent out yesterday. I thought Stitch was appropriate for how we maybe all feel right now. But if you scroll down here, farther down, I have, here is like a like printable copy that you can do to see all the dates at a time. So here's the football and here's the volleyball. As far as the Indian Spring websites, there's details on this newsletter that I'd want to point out. Or let me finish with the newsletter and then I'll jump to the new website. The newsletter has a ton of important information right now. One thing that's not on the agenda, but I really wanted to point out, is this right here, is the instructional change deadline. So what the district is doing as a whole is Tuesday, September 29th is going to be the deadline for families to change their instruction choice from in-person to remote or vice versa. And if you click on this form, you can go get the information, and then you'll have to do that for each child. So there's lots of great information on this newsletter. So I encourage you to read through that. That's why I sent that out, did the phone call, just to make sure everyone knows about that information. In terms of the new website, we do still use our main website, but we also created a separate website, if you haven't been here, that has information about remote and in-person. I will say I haven't updated this since right before the first day. So I do need to add more information on here, but you can click on in-person or remote and then scroll down and select topics. I tried to make it as visual as possible to make it easy to find your information. I just got a question that said, is that only for Indian Spring students or Waco ISD? And no, that is actually a district-wide form. So that's why we're doing a district basis, is so you can do that for each of your students for all your campuses. And that was something that was very important for the district, so that way it's not a different process on every campus. And so that deadline will be the same for every school as well. I think that is all I have to cover, Mr. Alexander. So that's the athletic schedules, the Indian Spring website, and how to do that choice. While I'm still sharing my screen, would anybody like me to pull anything else up? If so, feel free to put it in the chat box. I just got a question about having a soccer team. So what our athletics, the way athletics works for us is in the fall, girls have volleyball, boys have football. In the winter, we have basketball. Then we have track for both boys and girls. And then we have soccer for both boys and girls. So that's the typical schedule we have for athletics. Okay. Any last minute questions? Are you ready, Mr. Alexander?
Yes.
Okay.
And they did add a couple more sports. This year they added cross country for the kids. So we'll see how that, see cross country. And I believe I heard that we're going to have tennis. So I think they're working on that too. So we'll see how that goes. All right. And this is what we follow. We have a Bulldog Creed that we read to the kids every day. We do a pledge, we do the Texas pledge, and we do our Bulldog Creed to show pride in our school and our campus for each other. And this is our vision that we have for the students. And this is what we have in our classrooms. This is what we have school-wide around the campus. This is what we focus on throughout our school year. And this is our vision for the year. This is what we're committed to. And this is our mission, is our day-to-day work that we do with the kids going into for the 21st century learning. This is our expectation as a campus, to hold each other to these core values and our beliefs for all kids are expected to achieve, and all kids are expected to learn, and all kids have that opportunity for equality and equity for learning for all students, to divide, to close those gaps, and to be able to show diversity, and to be able to show equity into students, and build students socially, emotionally as well, to build those character skills that they're going to need outside of school, to be able to build those character traits that we know that is going to be very important for kids. So that's kind of how we look at things. This is our narrow focus, that we focus on these 6 bullet points and what we believe in by setting goals, having academic excellence, assuming personal responsibility for the kids, and creating an environment that is for lifelong learners, and working closely with parents and our school community in students and have, this ever-changing global society. That's pretty much us, in a nutshell. So I think that's pretty much it for me on the vision and mission statement. We're going to go to Title I. Travis, are you ready to go to Title I?
So before we go to Title I, again, I want to reiterate a couple things. If you're new to joining and haven't done this already, please type in your name in the chat box. And if you have a student, type their name as well with that. That's how we're keeping, that's kind of our sign-in sheets that we're going to be using for this meeting. The other thing is if we could go ahead and go to our Q&A and then do Title I at the end. I don't want to force anybody to sit through all of the Title I information. I would love for you to be there, but I'm not going to have everybody stay if they don't want to. So I'm keeping that option open. So let's go ahead and do the Q&A. Some questions that I saw from the chat box, Mr. Alexander. The first one was from Mari. If she's still on here, I'm going to try to see. Mari, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, at the bottom.
Is that a yes?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So my concern was, and I think I sent an email to Travis, and I know you're probably, full with emails, is during drop-off time. I sent in some suggestions, and I guess I should have copied you, the principal. Drop-off has been crazy because I drop off my son through the drive-through or drop-off lane. There's a person that comes and checks my son's temperature. He goes and stands in line against that fence to wait somebody else to check his temperature again. And then they split up the lines into a different door, and then he gets his temperature checked again, which if you have your student checked 3 times, that's 3 kids you could have checked in. So I just feel that, and now I've done events planning and I'm a coordinator. So it just seems like we're not being efficient in the morning, and drop off has gotten better because I think they just release them out that way. But I'm late to work in the morning, 30 minutes every morning. And I'm lucky enough that I don't have to use my accrual, my accrual sick or vacation, but some people don't have that luxury, Is there anything being done? Was my email even read? Are any of these ideas being considered so that we can improve efficiency? Because I know it's a new year and everything's crazy, but we're just not being efficient at this point.
I understand your concern. I did read your email. And Travis sent it to me.
I just wanted to add, I'm sorry, I immediately sent that to Mr. Alexander when I got it, but I forgot to respond personally.
Right,
so
and
I'm sorry that I
that's
didn't
fine.
respond.
And I think I called yesterday because I had one of the drop-off ladies there, and I know as you're educators right now. I'm going to tell you, I cannot do what you do. Yeah, I think y'all are great and you're superheroes. But this lady, I didn't want my son getting checked twice, so I told him get off the vehicle and go stand in line, which he did. And when she came in to ask me, to check his temp, I said, "Oh, I already told him to go in line." Well, ma'am, you need to keep your son safe. You need to keep him in the vehicle. But at this point, I'm thinking, I'm trying to save you time. I'm trying to save my child time. I'm trying to get kids in because, I see how they crowd outside. They're still crowding. Whether they crowd inside or outside, they're still crowding.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. And like I said, that's what I do by nature. So as soon as I saw it, I thought, I think there's some room for improvement. So I took the liberty of sending in some suggestions. But they have not been applied. So, I just want to know that this will get better.
Right. That's what we work on every day. We looked at the improvements, we looked at the whole school, looked at the whole system. So, we take everything into it under advisement and look at what we can do better and what changes that we need to make. And definitely try to work on efficiency. So that's what we're working on every day to try to get better, especially at dismissal. We'll look at what arrival looks like in the morning. It has been getting better each and every day. And some parents stay. Some parents have the luxury of staying after they drop their kids off. Some will drop off early and go because they have to get to work. So there's a difference between kids standing around talking. Some get out early. Some get out there before we even get there. So kids going to migrate towards each other because that's children. That's what they do. So unless we're going to be out there at 7:30, and that's not going to happen. So, you know, we're just working on trying to get better each and every day to try to make sure that kids are safe and make sure that we're ready to go when the second 6 weeks where most of the kids are going to come back, because that's going to probably have to change again, and we're going to have to adjust based on the number of kids that we have. So, you know, for us, it's just making sure that we try to do better every day, listen to all the stakeholders and look at the processes, look at this, look at working, what's not working, and make sure we have enough eyes, bodies to be able to cover the ground, cover the campus, because, you know, all of us are spread thin, trying to cover every space, every position that we possibly have, you know, our teaching staff, our non-teaching staff, to make sure that we're able to keep our kids social distancing and wearing their masks, and try to make sure that we get kids in the building as fast as we possibly can so they can go ahead and start their day. And, you know, that's something that we look at, you know, every day, is just try to figure out, because it's new for us to try to figure out, okay, all this spacing, and try to make sure that we have spacing, enough spacing, and how fast and efficiency we can get the kids in, because everybody's trying to get to work, you know, at a decent time. So, you know, that's something that I read and took into advisement. I said, wow, she made a lot of good points. You know?
Right, and it came from a good place. I just want to make sure that I can understand, you know, as educators, you're put under a lot of pressure because you have families too. Right. You're also worried, just like all of us and all these students. So, you know, sometimes an outsider's point of view can, you know, you can fill in the gaps or see gaps that maybe you're not able to see because you're addressing other issues.
That's true.
So,
that's true. And okay, I took it like that. You know, I thought it was well written. And I told Travis that same day. I said, "Wow, that's, you know, very well written, articulated. One of the best emails I've seen ever." So, you know, I said, "Wow, there's some things we can look at, some things we can get better." It also boils down to personnel, and have enough personnel to be out there to do everything that they want us to do. Because even though they got CARES Act, but CARES Act did translate to more staffing and more personnel. So,
right.
You know,
Can I add a comment, Mr. Alexander?
What you got?
So I'm one of the people that is temperature scanning out there, and I definitely understand a lot of those concerns. I will say personnel is definitely a big one, because we can't really open our doors until about 8:15 to make sure all of our teachers are ready to take the students into the building. But we are trying to work at keeping our staff closer to those doors, so that way students aren't getting double screened.
Right.
Because that doesn't make any sense to double screen the students.
Right.
So we are trying to work on that. The biggest thing that we need to probably do a better job there is having the cars pull up to us and then screen them there rather than following the line of cars.
Right.
Because that makes it more confusing the farther away to know whether somebody was screened.
Right.
The goal was originally to have all the families pull up in their car and have a student come out. But the reality is, we know a lot of families have to be at work earlier. Last year, I would get to work on bad weather days at like 7:15, and there would already be like 10 students just sitting there. And so that was a drive for me to try to get there earlier to let them in so they're not standing there in the rain. But it's the reality of, you know, parents have to get to work at various times. And sometimes it's a choice they have to make, is go ahead and drop off their students, even though they don't know what the status is at that time. It just, personnel is difficult with that, because that's just something I just did. It's not like I got paid extra to, you know, get it out, be there 45 minutes, an hour early, but it's just trying to do what we have to. But I definitely appreciate your email. I'm sorry I didn't respond to that.
Oh, it's good. I mean, I like I said, I have the luxury of being, I can come into work a little bit later. I work 2 minutes from Indian Springs, which is awesome, but I do want it to be easier on you, because I can see educators. I have another student at Waco High, and on the first week, I mean, the door got slammed in their face because they wouldn't let them into class. And because I understand teachers are frustrated now. There's a limit, but you know, I get it. You, as educators, you're doing the best you can. So if anything, I just want to provide feedback to help us, help me, help you, help the parents, and get my student into class to learn, because he's been waiting to go back to the classroom since this, you know, since back in March. So.
Ms. Ugarte, before I call on you, is your question related to the same question, or is it a different question?
A different question.
Okay, I have one in front of you. Jennifer asked, what happens when the student has issues with the website. I will specifically speak to Canvas first. If any of you have an issue where your students don't have their classes in Canvas, please let me know right away. This has been a huge district issue this week, not just Indian Spring, across the whole district. And so they are the ones that have to resolve that, but I'm trying to enter in work orders for that. If they have other issues, please, you can enter it in the chat box, enter your student's name, and I will try to follow up regarding that, because it's driving us crazy too. You know, we want our students to be able to do their assignments and do their work and stay caught up. And so we're actively doing that. So I have at least 6 students that I've been trying to assist today regarding that issue. So Jennifer, if you want to, feel free to do a private message, or you can put it public, whatever you feel like. Send that to me and I'll try to work on that. Okay, now to your question, Ms. Ugarte.
I guess it's like say my son, she got some like problems with connect to Zoom, and on the iPad she said like I'm putting the all numbers with the I got the link and press the link for go to the Zoom, and she say she don't go through on there. I don't know why. She got to go home. The last week, same problem, and this week, same problem.
So my top suggestion in terms of Zoom would be, that's an individual teacher question. So any teacher that you have an issue with, that they posted a Zoom link, they tell you to get on, I would contact them first. If it's still not working after you contacted them and discussed with them, then let me know and I'll follow up with them directly to figure out what the issue is going on.
Okay.
But start with the teacher on issues like that.
Yeah, on the class it's right there. Got it, one message and go for the Zoom, and she pressed for goes to the Zoom, and she don't go through. I don't know why. And one more, I got one more question. What is the last day for change is the classes instead of she's not more on home and she go to the school.
So what I showed from the newsletter is it's Tuesday the 29th is the district-wide date that you have to submit your change request. And so there is a form that you can get to. Again, if you go to our newsletter, that's probably the quickest way to get there. I will try to add the link. I'm going to make a note to myself to add the link to our website.
Okay.
And then I will also make a separate post on Facebook for the change. But the deadline is the 29th. And that's 29. For the next grading period. So you still have to stay the same through the end of this grading period. The new grading period starts on October 13th.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
I think I have another question from Jennifer. Let's see. Okay, so she's saying that the student says that he submits his work, but then gets a call back saying that he hasn't submitted anything. That's something I think we're all having to learn together. I do need the teachers to double check that. So I would continue to check with the teacher to verify those questions of, did this get submitted? Did it not get submitted? Because that can be kind of confusing depending on the type of assignments. So I would still say, please check with the teacher first. And then if you still have an issue ongoing, then you can follow up with the other staff here, including myself. For you, Jennifer. For Ms. Vera Cruz, your question on how is attendance working? I would contact Ms. Evelyn Cardenas, who's our attendance clerk, to clarify his status. She's our attendance clerk, and so she's the one who would make any adjustments. When you're a remote learner, It's based off of logging into Canvas every day and that getting tracked. But naturally, we're still learning exactly how all that process works. Okay.
Okay.
Somebody else have a question, or is there something you need to say, Mr. Alexander?
No, sir. I believe that's all. Is there anything else?
Okay. So any other questions,
Yes,
anybody,
Lord.
before we go to Title One?
Yes,
Yeah,
Lord.
I just logged in. I'm sorry, I was having trouble logging in, Travis. And I was just came in and hearing about the changing. So if we're remote and we want to decide to send our kids, we have to the 29th, you said?
Yes, you have until September 29th to fill out that district form.
Okay, and what day would they actually start up there? Because my concern is,
Mhm.
okay, what if we fill it out now and then boom, hopefully not, pray to God not, but we start getting, recordables on cases and cases, but we
Mhm.
already registered our child to go back to school. How would that work if we want to decide no, we don't want to
That's
send
it. Well, I answer that question. That's parent choice. We'll have to honor that at that time. So I'm not trying to speak that into existence. So we're being prepared for that. If that is the case, we'll have to make that decision as a district. But right now, the first day that they come back would be October 12th. Yeah, that's the beginning of the second 6 weeks.
Okay.
One thing I want to say again, for anyone who hasn't already typed in their own name and then their student's name in the chat box, please do so because that's our sign-in process. So if you have not done that already, please do so. Because I know people have come in at different times. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets in. I'm sorry it took me a minute, Ms. Cruz, to admit you. I didn't see when you popped up there.
It's okay.
Anybody else with a question before we do Title One? Going once, going twice. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over to Title One. I am a fan of brevity, so I promise I will try to get through this as fast as I can, but there's a lot of federal regulations that we're required to cover, and so I'm gonna try to cover that right now. Feel free to drop off if that is not of interest to you right now. And I do appreciate, before I move on, I just wanna say I really appreciate everyone on here. Honestly, this is probably the most people we've had on the CDMC in a while. And so I am incredibly appreciative.
Yeah,
we need your feedback. Even if it's about issues and problems, like just being here. And that's one possible benefit of being virtual is for some families, I think it may be easier for you to be home and do a meeting rather than have to come up to the school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one, silver lining of this whole process.
Well,
But anyways.
And Miss Martin, go ahead, Miss Cruz.
Real quick. Will the kids ever have actual virtual online work, or is it only if they have issues or have problems? Because my child is in that 504 program, and I'm trying to get him the best of help that he can. And there's some questions that I don't even understand, and we're both, me and him, back and forth emailing teachers and just trying to get the quickest response we can. So would the classes actually have Zoom classes to where we'll see the teacher and stuff like that, or no?
Some of that it's up to the teacher.
Okay.
Like I know a lot of our band classes have been doing a Zoom based. Part of the thing we just have to be mindful of is we know not every student is able to tune in at the exact same time every day. So we need to leave the option for asynchronous learning so that a student can do it at any time. Because I've had a couple parents tell me, my student waits to do their work until I get home from work. And so there's students that'll do their work at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7, and so on. And we need to still have that option for remote students that they can do that way.
Okay.
But it's kind of up to the teacher on if they do Zoom classrooms. And then also just making sure that we do that in as safe of a way as possible.
Okay.
And then you have that technical support too, that's after hours too, that'll be able to help. And they also have instructional support too. Do you have the phone numbers? Because I know we push that on our newsletter.
Yes.
The district has certain hours that we put on the, on Facebook. We use different platforms to try to push out information for families.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the Title I information. So I'm going to share my screen. So now I'm sharing the presentation. And so this is just called Importance of, well, it's a long name, Importance of Parent and Family Engagement, Homeschool Compacts, Parent Involvement Policy, and Annual Title I Meeting. And so I'm going to do my best to try to breeze through this. This is a requirement as far as receiving Title I funds. And it's just letting you know about your ability to participate in some of the decisions that go on campus. So part of that is knowing that you do have a right to volunteer. Now, this year would have to be virtually, but there are ways that we can plug you in around the campus, participate in decisions relating to the education of your child, and assist with review of our compact and Title I plan, as well as parent advisory boards. The CIP, or Campus Improvement Plan, is something we do that we put together at the end of each year and then introduce for the next year. In the spring, there's something called the Campus Needs Assessment, and that's something that parents are involved with for kind of evaluating how we're doing. The Homeschool Compact, I'll actually show you what this looks like at the end, so I don't have to jump back and forth, but it's just a brief one-page document. We decided to keep this essentially the same as last year because we put a lot of work into some revisions. A lot of our Homeschool Compact is based off of something called the Flamboyant Foundation that came up with, or did a lot of research regarding core values and influencing strong like student, not just engagement, but achievements. And so if you look at any of our newsletters from last year, at the bottom has all of the 5 points that are core to our mission for family engagement. Next slide is just talking about our parent involvement policy. I'll jump to this once I'm done as well. I tried to give a summary version of what that entails, of like what parent rights are for parent involvement. Okay, I think I addressed Homeschool Compact. Essentially what it says is what are expectations for families, what are expectations for staff, and what are expectations for students. In terms of curriculum, the main things that we're just supposed to outline is that it's based off of the TEKS, Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, and what's called student expectations. The main way we do assessments before STAR is through branching minds. There's a new one that we use called Renaissance, and MAPS does our benchmarking, which means we try to track throughout the year if a student's on level, like how they're approaching their grades. We do try to be flexible with parent meetings. This is kind of one of those examples. I'm recording this so somebody could watch us at a later time and then still engage with us, continue to ask questions. That'll probably be the format for most of this year. This is a big one. So reservation of funds. So there are funds that we as a campus receive that are specifically for parent and family engagement. And so a huge thing that we do need your input on in the future is how should we use these funds? Because we do have to have parents' responses on how this should be used. The only caveat is there's a lot of restrictions. It's not like we can just use the money for anything. And so when we approach that point of like discussing funds this year, I'll try to share what the possible options for how we could spend those funds, what that would be. Teacher qualifications. So every parent has the right to request information regarding the qualifications of their teachers. And we do have to specifically report if a teacher, this says, notify parents that the student has been assigned or been taught 4 or more consecutive weeks by a teacher who does not meet applicable state certification requirements. So that's something that would be coming out probably, I think, in the next month, typically. I know one of our counselors is on here, but to notify if we have any staff that don't meet that criteria. So it's like a alt certification type thing that hasn't been fully completed. That's when we would let you know. Here is the contact information for me and Mr. Alexander, should you need that. So I'll leave that up just a second if anybody wants to take a screenshot. I usually do the print screen button, and then you can paste it into Paint. If you need a way to get a hold of us, that's both of our office numbers. Give it another few seconds. Okay, jump in the next slide. This just talks about, like I was talking, the campus needs assessment. We do various evaluations throughout the year. Campus needs assessment is the biggest one, but we also send out surveys to families. And so that's an important way that we try to get a pulse on how families are feeling about different things that we're doing. So this is just, the last several slides are pretty quick. It's just benefits of parent and family engagement. It's just important to recognize when school, families, and community groups work together to support learning, children tend to do better in school, stay in school longer, and like school more. And the reason why I actually took the time to read this is Karen Mapp is, one of the greats in education of this time, teaches at Harvard, has brought on tons of research and support for school systems. And she's researched this. This isn't just something she's throwing out there. She has a lot of evidence that prove that when family members and school and community groups work together, that's when all students thrive the most. And so your engagement, you being here right now, is incredibly important. Here's a list of just some potential student benefits. Here's some school benefits. And then just some general parent and family benefits, including just being more confident at school by being involved in parent engagement. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen really quick and quickly jump over to, let's see, gotta find it myself. So here is our current parent and family engagement policy. And so what I decided to do with this is I wrote at the top, due to the potential wordiness of documents like this, each item will start with a long version and then be followed by the short version. So to make this more friendly for our families to use, because there's a lot of requirements involved when you talk about things like this, is I created little things like this. So this whole paragraph can be summarized as, Indian Spring will develop this policy with families and will work with families to make it available and understandable. I'm going to jump down here to the next section, and feel free, I'll try to go a little slower so you can actually read the full paragraph above. But the point of the second section is Indian Spring will have an open meeting to explain family rights to be involved and make copies of changes available. And just to go on that, again, we're going to share this recording. We're going to share other options for people to look at this document after this meeting's over and to give potential changes so we can edit this document, because it really is one of those living documents that you can adjust throughout the year. The third bullet point is, my summary is that we will offer meetings and meeting resources. So any family that wishes to participate can, even if it's after the original meeting. So, I don't know if anybody on here was involved in our family engagement committees in the past, but, I would hold one-on-one meetings in the past if it meant that parents, were able to ask questions, get things answered, give ideas. That's something we always want to make available. Another special thing that I've added to our website last year is on our homepage, if you scroll down, there's a feedback form. And you can actually provide anonymous feedback to the school, or you can provide feedback and have your contact information if you want to follow up. So we really try to keep an open door in terms of getting feedback throughout the year. The fourth bullet point here says, Indian Spring will involve families in the review and improvement process of the school, including, but especially in relationship to the campus improvement plan. So that's summarizing this paragraph. And so we want your comments to be able to improve that. I actually want to jump down to number 6 really quick before I go to number 5. Number 6, the summary says families can send comments about the CIP to Region 12 if they're not satisfied with it. So when we do make the campus improvement plan, and if you've had opportunity to give critique and then we don't take that critique, that's something you can actually, a state and the federal requirement is you're allowed to directly contact Region 12 to state those comments. So that's something that's available to you. Number 5, jumping back, is Indian Spring will provide information on programs, curriculum standards, and how to get involved in a timely manner. So it's just saying, the various things we'll inform you about. We won't hide it. We won't, try to avoid it. When we have information about programs, we will share it. We try to put that actively on our website, our Facebook, and other places. And then the last one, this is a long section, so you may not be able to see it easily on my screen. I'll give you a minute to just sort of look at that. And slowly scroll down. So the summary of this, and I know I am still moving fairly fast, but I don't want to waste anybody's time, is that Indian Spring will provide assistance to families in a variety of ways, which includes staff training to better work with families and allowing families to request reasonable specific services. And so these bullet points here give examples of the different things that we have. We're still working out what our family resource center is going to look like this year because parents aren't supposed to come on campus. I'm curious to know, can we use that because it's sort of off campus. We're still figuring out the logistics of some of those things. But the point of this section is, with our policy, is making sure parents know these resources are available. I know that's a lot of wordiness. That's why I try to avoid. Does anybody have any comments just about this involvement policy, something that they specifically want to see added to that? I'm gonna give it about 30 seconds just to make sure if there's something. I know you can't see the whole document immediately, so I'll share that after the meeting in case you think of something later. But if anybody has any critiques of things they would like to see on here, please let me know. Okay. Literally tracking 30 seconds on my watch, so I'm not hearing anything. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So I'm going to stop the share here. And I'm going to share, let's see. So this is our homeschool compact. So this is the document, again, that shares a general expectation of what to expect of our staff, our parents, or I wrote on here, caring adults, and then our students. And so you can see the top portion here that just says that we are, as a school, dedicated to providing our community with a safe, positive, and effective learning environment. And our goals for our students. Here are our goals for our staff. As I mentioned earlier, the caring adults, that really incorporates the information from the Flamboyant Foundation. And part of the reason I decided to have the wording change here to caring adults is we are we recognize very much that we have a lot of great grandparents, aunts and uncles, siblings, other guardians. So it's not just a parent of students. We have a lot of great people that are adults that take care of our students. And so we want to include all of those people in this discussion. And then finally, what is expected of the students. So that is it for our homeschool compact. I think that's everything for Title I. It's a whole lot of information. You wouldn't believe all the paperwork that we have to provide for that sort of stuff. But I appreciate how many of you actually stuck on here because I know it can be very dry. I wanted to open it up again, Mr. Alexander, if you have any comments or if anybody has any new questions or specific questions regarding Title I, what's expected of families.
No.
No?
No other
Nothing for me?
questions? Miss,
Okay.
any other parents?
Oh, let me double check
Sorry.
the chat box. I have not checked that in a while. Apologize. I don't see any new comments right now. Well, I just want to thank everyone. This was a good turnout for us and just really appreciate your time. So I feel free to go ahead and drop off. I'm going to save our chat box so we have that record. But thank you. We appreciate your feedback. You can contact me directly at travis.cheatham@wacoisd.org, or you can text me is my preference just because I can't always answer the phone. My number is, I'll put it in the text box, is 254-710-9210. And that'll go to my office phone. So one big improvement we're trying to work on with our teachers as well this year is being able to text with our teachers through a private means so they don't have to use their personal number. But I appreciate it, everyone. So have a great night and keep me posted if you have other specific questions that you think of after this meeting.
Okay. And Miss Mar, I think she's still there. Miss Maurice, I think she's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes, Miss Mari, if you can hang on for a little bit, I want to talk to you about dismissal and stuff. All right. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Everyone else, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Again, if there's anything we can do to help you, support you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. And the only way we're going to get better as a school is listening to concerns and feedback to get better. Because every day our job is to make is to get better for the children and make the school even better each and every day, every year. We're still doing well. Academically, we're still holding down a C right now. So we're excited about that accountability coming into this year. The kids still have to take their STAR test. We'll see how that goes for this year. So, but we're going to take it one day at a time to get better. Continue to keep helping the kids and supporting the kids. And thank you for helping them so much and getting them ready for the school year, remotely or in person. Hopefully y'all like the dress code. It's a little bit different than what we're used to having. So hopefully some of those changes, we're listening and taking that into advisement when we get feedback from parents. And a lot of times, a lot of decisions are made based on what parents are saying to us and what we're doing to listen to what our parents are saying to us. So again, appreciate y'all. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Mari, regarding your question about procedures, I will, I read that, so I'm going to take that under advisement. You know, I liked a lot of the steps that you were talking about, recommendations and some of the things that we need to do differently. So I'll be paying attention to that over the next few days, looking at arrival, looking at dismissal, and what we need to do better to try to be more efficient in that way and more, because I don't want to see kids get screened over and over and over either.
Right.
That's not the process that we put in place. So I need to figure out why is that happening in the first place with parents.
Right. I think what you said is right. It's staffing because, you know, so if the lady, I honestly don't know anybody's name, but she comes and screens us, then the person at the door doesn't know who he's
right. So they need to communicate. And that's what that sounds like. Okay. So I'll work on that process and see what I need to do. Sometimes I just have to go and see with my own eyes what's working, what's not working, and make those adjustments and communicate that to my staff and making sure that it's efficient. Because there's a lot going on in the morning with the kids. And some of the kids out there already and trying to space those out, and some dropping off. And so we got walkers, we got call riders, so, you know, the vans and everything else. And it's a tight area. So when we started this process, our vision was to have parents pull up and we scan them right then and there. But as reality kicks in, things happen, and we have to fluently have to change and make those adjustments. So hopefully we'll get better at that process, especially in the morning, and being better prepared and better equipped if we need to put more people out there to make sure that we did make that the first week, added more staff to try to get out there sooner. So we'll just have to keep looking at that to make our adjustments to do better. Once we get feedback and concerns and things, and take that under advisement on what we need to do differently, because I look at feedback as a way to improve. I never look at it as a way to criticize, because we're all expected and be held to a higher standard, because we have the most valuable product in our community is our children. And so,
Right.
and that's how I look at it. So if a parent has a concern with their child, and to me, that's my child during the day, and that's my responsibility to make sure that that child is safe at all times and that they're able to go back home to their families. And that's what we're supposed to do, to care for our kids and our community and our parents and our family, because it's your school. And that's how I look at it. And the parents' school is the parents, the community that live in that community. That's your school. If you see something that we're doing right, you know, great. If we're doing something wrong, then we need to fix it, and then we need to find a way to make it better for our families. You know, and that's the whole process of communication. That's why we ask for feedback, and you have to listen to that feedback and then do something with that feedback, like we did with the dress code, like we did with the book bags and everything else that we try to do, and take that into consideration. And you're correct. We see a lot of emails. We get lots of emails every day. so I see now. I think I receive more emails now than I ever have in my life. So yeah, it's definitely a change, and everything is on. We're on hours of Zoom meetings, day after day after day. It's a lot, but we value your opinion for sure. Travis is very efficient of communicating with me. Sometimes it takes me a little bit longer because I'm processing it and looking at the big picture and what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes that's the way I look at it. You know, I take my time to do what I have to do, to make sure it's right for the whole staff, and make sure I have the appropriate staff that's going to be able to do the right thing for the children. But I appreciate
well, so far my son is enjoying it. He has zero complaints. He likes it. He's enjoying middle school. So that says a lot.
Amen. That's a blessing. Where did he go to elementary at?
Hillcrest PDS.
Oh, okay. I need to meet him. What's his name?
Sebastian Hernandez.
Okay.
So yeah, he does great. And then I know a friend of mine, Mayela Hernandez, used to work with CIS.
Yeah. Manuela. Yeah, she's one of our favorites.
She got married and left, but she spoke very highly of the school as well. So
right. We miss Manuela already.
I know it. I miss her too.
Yeah, she was good. She was very good. She's a great person.
Well, I just appreciate you taking the time to address that. Like I said,
yes,
we just want to get kids in to study.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I do. I take everything into advisement. Whatever a parent has to say, I take that into, I take it to heart. My job is to make that school better than the way I found it. And that's just how I look at it every day. And you're going to have good days, you're going to have concerns, but it's not personal. It's about getting better. And if somebody see it a different way than I see it, then hey, I need to listen. I listen to Travis. I'm not one of those that I sit up top and judge people. I know I try to do what I can for the kids, and listen to my teachers, and they said they wanted the kids, and the community said they wanted 1-to-1. So we made sure the first day that we was gonna be ready to have devices. And, we're trying to do our best every day to be ready and be prepared for this pandemic. If it's second wave or whatever, I'm trying not to speak that way, but we're gonna be we're gonna be further ahead than what we was last year, and that's the expectation, to make sure that we have the devices and the technology to be able to provide for our kids and for our families. So, and the only way we get better is by feedback. you know, I appreciate the parents and the families that was on tonight, because this is the most we ever had. So I'm thankful. So that tells me we must be doing something right. So, and I'm appreciative of that. And I just want to continue to say thank you, you know, and everything that you did, and that took time to communicate that with me. So I just want to honor your time, and thank you for acknowledging that, you know, and taking your time to do that. So we'll definitely take that under advisement and make our adjustments from there.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right, guys. Is there anything else for Mr. Alexander? You got myself. You got my work number. You got my email. If there's anything else that I could do as principal, please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly or by Mr. Cheatham. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve your kids. We're here to serve our community. So we just want to say thank you to everybody. And don't be shy to see us if we come out to the volleyball games or football games or wherever you see us. Just come up and say, hey, I'm such and such, and you know, mom or father, whatever case may be, because that way we can, you know, close those gaps and have families, you know, be more inviting, more welcoming. And that's what we want, is have families feel like this is their school, this is their community, that y'all are very important to us. And we want to make sure that y'all see that the way we treat our families, the way that we treat your children, that's important to me. All right, I think that's all,
All right.
Travis. I think that's
Cool.
all.
Well, thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Thank you, families. I
forward to it.
appreciate y'all. Thank you. You have a good
Have a
night.
good night.
Bye.